I did want to wear pink while filming this, but it turns out I don't actually own anything that's pink. Unless it's like a jumper, and right now it's 34 degrees and I'm not wearing a jumper. So this kind of dusky orange thing is gonna have to make it. Don't come for me in the comments, okay? Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife, and today I am going to talk you through every single book on my shelf that has a pink cover. And I don't wear quite a lot of pink, but it turns out I read quite a lot of pink. Some of them are books that I have already read, but quite a lot of them have come from this bookshelf, which means that they are books that I haven't yet read. So those are the ones that I'm not probably going to be able to tell you quite a lot about, but we're still going to go through them anyway. So let's start with one that I have read, and that is No Big Deal by Bethany Rutter. This came out last year, and it is about a girl called Emily Daly. Emily is fat, but she's really, really proud of that. And her mother isn't really as accepting of that as Emily is. So she keeps kind of pushing her towards diets, pushing her towards going to work out, all that kind of stuff. And the other side of it is Emily just being a teenager and having to cope with all of the stuff that comes with being a teenager, falling in love, going to school, getting in fights with her friends. I really, really enjoyed this book, and to be honest, I have forgotten quite a lot of the minute details about this, and I'm definitely going to reread it again very, very soon. One book that I recently finished is Royals by Rachel Hawkins, and this book is set kind of half in the US and a little bit more in the UK. So the book follows Daisy, and she is your typical girl from Florida. She has a summer job that she holds down so that she can kind of pay her own way when she gets in the house. And her sister's name is Ellie, and she has fallen in love with the Prince of Scotland. And they are engaged to be married. So Daisy and her parents go over to the UK to kind of celebrate the engagement, get a feel for royal life, and to support Ellie in her new role as princess in waiting. Quite a lot of the reason that Daisy agrees to go is that her ex-boyfriend has sold some stories about her to the tabloids, so some pictures of her to tabloids, and she's just kind of had enough of it. And when she goes over, she kind of meets a gang of people who know Ellie's fiance really, really well, but she gets on really, really well with them. This is the first book in a series. I have the second book somewhere there. It's a blue book, so it's around here somewhere. It's actually on the very bottom shelf, you can't see it. But I have the second book in this series, and I'm definitely going to reread this and then read the second one straight after so I can remember the story. Call It What You Want is the first Bridget Kemmerer book that I read. I know that she has quite a lot of books out already, but I'm not a big fantasy fan, so quite a lot of her books are actually not super interesting to me. This one is kind of like a Robin Hood retelling. It's about a guy called Rob, and his dad has been accused of embezzling quite a lot of funds from his work and has a suicide attempt that has gone wrong, and now he's living in a pretty vegetative state. And it's also about Megan, and her sister is the super achiever. She's the really high-flying one. She's the family example, and she comes back from college and she's pregnant. And now Megan is kind of coming to terms with her relationship with her sister changing, and Rob used to be super, super popular, and he used to be in with the really, really popular crowd, but now since what happened with his dad, he's not as popular anymore. And the two of them are put together on a project in one of their classes. I think it's an English class, and they kind of get to know each other a bit more, and the inevitable happens. They start falling in love. But it's a really, really cute book. I think I sped through this in about 3 days, and it's a really great book. I have got another Bridget Kemmerer book on my shelf. Again, it's another blue book. It's Letters to the Lost, and I am really excited to pick that one up too. I very recently, in fact, I bought it for my birthday. I bought The Two Lives of Lydia Bird by Josie Silver. I have read Josie Silver's debut book, which was One Day in December. I think I read that, as the title suggests, One Day in December. And I know that this book is about Lydia Bird, who loses her boyfriend Freddie in a car accident. And quite a lot of the book, I assume, is about adjusting to her life without Freddie in it. But I'm very confused as to why there are two lives, like it says on the book. Like, I mean, is there kind of like a time travel element where she goes, part of her life is if Freddie had survived, and part of it is if Freddie had died? I am intrigued by this book. You're probably going to see this in a wrap-up very, very soon. The next three books are kind of cheats on my TBR because I have already read them. It's just that I've read them in English. I have the entire To All the Boys I've Loved Before series, but in German. I haven't read quite a lot of German, but if you would have noticed on my August TBR, I have got a book in German on that. It's Momo by Michael Ende. I am hoping that these 3 books, I'm going to fan them out again. I'm hoping that these 3 books are going to help me with my German quite a little, because I've already read the books a couple of times. I've seen the 2 movies that have come out, and I know the story pretty well. So I don't have to concentrate on what the story is trying to tell me. I just have to figure out what the grammar is and what the sentence structure is and what I should be using. One of the most hyped books of the entire year. And one of my best friends has read it, and she said that it's amazing, and she gave it 4 stars, and that has spurred me on to read it. But because it's not on my August TBR, I can't get to it immediately. So if I speed through all 5 of those books, and if I get to Emma, I'm going to read Where the Crawdads Sing really, really soon. And it's on my 5-star predictions list for this year, so hopefully it's actually going to be a 5-star book. I have had Kat Clark's Girlhood on my TBR for years. I actually don't remember where or how I picked this up, but I know that it has been on my shelves for super long time. And I have a feeling if I don't get it read by 2020, I'm gonna have to unhaul it. In February of 2018, I went to Eston with a couple of my friends, and I picked up this Sophie Kinsella book, I Owe You One. I have a bit of a weird relationship with Sophie Kinsella. Some of her books I really, really love, and then some of them just don't scream out at me. And because quite a lot of the books that I have read by Sophie Kinsella recently haven't really done much for me, I have been a little bit put off with picking this one up. It's about a girl called Fixie, and she's kind of like the helper friend. So anybody who's having a problem, they come to her immediately. And she's out in a cafe one day, and one guy asks her to take a look at his, to just keep an eye on his laptop when he's gone to the bathroom or something. Not only does she watch it, but she kind of saves it from an imminent disaster. And I am really excited to see where that story goes, but I am also really, really hoping that this is a Sophie Kinsella book that I'm going to like. I have a copy of Milkman by Anna Burns, and I have heard kind of mixed reviews about this. I've heard quite a lot of people who have loved it, and then I've heard quite a lot of people who gave it a 2 stars and barely got through the book. I know that I need to read it for myself so that I can figure out how I'm going to feel about this book, but I actually just need to read it first. I bought a copy of All the Battle Apples by Maura Foley Doyle around this time last year. Actually, I bought it on a trip to the UK. We spent a week in Portsmouth, and this was one of the books I bought in the Waterstones down there. And I think it was a little bit of cover lust when I bought this book, but I have just looked at the back of it and it sounds really, really enticing. I think I'm going to leave this one to Halloween because it has a really kind of spooky vibe to it. And it feels like it has a kind of a witchcraft element to it. So I think that this book sounds like it would be a perfect read for Halloween when the days are getting shorter, nights are starting to get a bit longer, and the temperatures are really, really dropping down. I think this would be the perfect book for then. And so the final pink book that I have on my shelves is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. So this is one of the books that was on the YA 10 list this year. And my friend Emma from Bookworm Girl 24, she very, very kindly sent me a copy of this. And this is a book that is written in verse. I have no idea why, but quite a lot of the pages are in black, and some of the pages are in black, and I just realized that there are really nice illustrations throughout this book. It's a book that's written in verse. It's not something that I have read quite a lot. I think this is going to be the 3rd book that I'll have read in verse, but that is something, it's kind of a genre or a storytelling narrative that I am really interested in getting to know a lot more of. And I am really excited to read this book because I have heard some really, really great things about it. So, those are all of the books that I have that are pink or that have a pink cover. Are there any of those that you have read? Please tell me which ones that I should prioritize. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have videos up every week. Now get on out of here.